Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Danville City Commission for this evening, Monday, March 25th, 2019. The hour is 5:31, and I will call us to order and ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Terry. Please, ma'am.
Tonight I'd ask that we have a moment of silence for two well-known and respected men in our community that we lost suddenly and tragically in the last week. It's Mr. Stephen Powell and Mr. Ron Jackson. As you know, Mr. Powell was an internationally known artist and center professor, and Mr. Jackson and his wife operated the Idea Farm here locally for many years, and he has also served on several committees for the city. So I would ask that you join us in a moment of silence for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight I have the pleasure of calling to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Tom Broach. Mr. Broach, remember it begins with I.
A long time since the sixth grade. Are we ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Don't go far. Commission, you have had the agenda for several days. I assume it meets with your approval unless I hear otherwise. That being said, this is an opportunity to hear the public. This is the public's opportunity to speak on any item that is on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone that would like to take advantage of the microphone for 3 minutes? Seeing none, we'll move right along to item number 1. This is retirement recognition for one code enforcement officer by the name of Tom Broach.
How many times do you get to retire? Is there a limit?
I wrote this out. Hopefully I can get through it. Friday will be the end of an era for the city of Danville, as my coworker Tom Broach is retiring. 38 and a half years, almost 4 decades. Tom is from Mississippi. He came here from the Nicholasville Police Department on August 5th, 1980. His last day will be Friday, March 29th. The first time he retired from the police department was on July 31st, 2001. He was gone a whole month. Came back as a codes enforcement officer. He came to codes enforcement in September of 1987. He was a police officer, and they wanted a police officer to come over to codes enforcement, and he came over with Mike Thomas. I believe they started the department together. Tom was on dialysis for 3 years, from 2003 to 2006. Hardly ever missed a day of work. Go to dialysis, and he would try to come in and work. He had his kidney transplant in 2006, the day before I was leaving for a mission trip to go to Haiti. So I had no way of knowing what was going on. But he never stopped, and he came back to work as soon as he healed from the surgery. He's worked under 4 police chiefs. Some of those are here. 6 city managers. Tom and I have worked together for 20 plus years. He's always been here since I've been here. He's worn many hats at the city, and he's the example of a true public servant. He has always been willing to do whatever was asked of him to do. He has witnessed and stood firm with the city during the best and worst of times. We have many success stories, and we shall always be indebted to Tom for his dedication and support. We have done our best, all of us in codes enforcement, to learn as much as we could from him before he leaves us on Friday. He is dedicated, faithful, and loyal, and would give you the shirt off his back. We will all miss him, his institutional knowledge, and all the good food he has cooked for us over the years. Tom, brother, we'll miss you, but the time is right for you. We sincerely hope that retirement is wonderful and wish you lots of joyous time with your family. So this is not goodbye, but please come back to see us.
I will. Thank you.
Did you want to say something, Tony?
I'm in trouble now.
This is going to be a roast. This is a roast.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
No, not at all. Tom was here when I came here. Tom outlasted me by quite a bit. Won't share a whole lot of stories and stuff, but I'll say, Tom, I really enjoyed when I first started, and we used to have choir practice out back here.
Oh, yeah.
And I will give Tom a whole lot of credit because he's endured a whole lot. He's weathered a whole lot of different things, of changes and law enforcement, administrations and stuff, and still yet he put the city of Danville first. He's always put the city of Danville first and the citizens. Tom, everybody in town knows Tom. You may not know anybody else, but you know Tom Broach. Probably the most famous police officer there is in this city. And I really enjoyed our time together, but I remember one specific incident. Years ago, Tom had already transferred over to doing codes enforcement. And the time I was chief, and I came upon a vehicle and I stopped it, and good, bad, or indifferent, was really famous for doing traffic stops without calling them out. And I did a traffic stop on a guy over here, unbeknownst, until he got out of the car, that he was wanted. And he and I started dancing on the side of North 5th over there. And about the time I thought it was going to get really serious, I turned around and here comes Tom Broach. I knew it was going to be okay. And me and Tom got him under control and got him in, and I always knew Tom had my back, and I know he's always had, always will have, all of our backs.
Appreciate that.
Tom, it's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you, sir.
I started in 95, and at that time, Tom was, like you said, was already over in the, excuse me, codes. But for about a year and a half there, he would come back and work as a supervisor on the weekends. You know, that's how much he loved it. And it was me, Jeannie Gibson, and every now and then Jimbo was, I think, on Saturdays, but on Sundays it was just me, Tom, and Jeannie. And man, did we have some good times.
Oh, yeah.
We had some good times back in those days. And I learned and filled out more use of force reports with Tom and Jeannie than I've had in my whole career. But we took care of everything. We took care of each other. I'll miss him cooking every now and then, especially during New Orleans and the gumbo and everything. But Tom's, like Bridget said, there's been nobody else that could better represent the city of Danville than Tom Broach. He's always put the city first. He's sacrificed probably many things, more than we'll ever know, just for the benefit of this community. It's been an honor and a pleasure working with you. I appreciate the support that you've given me my whole career. And like Bridget said, it's not goodbye. It's just come back and say us anytime. Thank you.
Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, before we turn this microphone over to you, which is a dangerous thing to do, I know. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have a 3-minute rule. Okay. Let me present you with something that we do customarily. Mr. Tom Broach, thank you for your dedicated service to the city of Danville, 2001 through 2019. I think it goes quite a bit more than that. I think you were here when Daniel Boone came through the gap, weren't you? I think so. So please enjoy that.
Thank you,
and while you're talking, maybe you can kind of incorporate these cooking lessons here at City Hall and singing out in the parking lot. And I think we need to pay a little closer attention to what goes on around here. Go ahead, sir.
I certainly want to thank you. I want to thank the commission for and also the city manager, and also our legal department, Mr. Dexter, because they've backed us up in code enforcement. A lot of people think it's really pretty easy job. It's not an easy job. When we show up, we don't make anybody happy. You know, it's tough. It can be dangerous. Now you go in and look at places, you've got no telling what, needles, drugs, guns. You don't know what you're getting into when you're doing an inspection. But the city commission, administration, also legal, backed us up. That's great, because that's what we needed. We'll continue to do that. My unit is a good, tight unit. We've got some good people. Our administrative assistant, Tiffany, keeps me and the new officer in line, files our reports, reminds us of this or that. We got a boss we can go to if we got a problem. Other than that, we try not to bother. But this is a good department. We've got some good officers, and hopefully I'll have another one pretty soon. Special thanks to my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. That includes Sheriff's Department. They've backed me up many times. The police department, my brothers and sisters in the department, we're all a special breed of person to get up every morning, strap that, used to be a 6-gun, but the drug dealers have more money, so we've had to switch over to automatic pistols and stick that badge on, go out, force the law, because the officers that I've been associated with, we're out there to protect the public. We feel like we're the first defense for people who cannot take care of themselves, whether they're elderly, they have maybe mental problems, children. We're there to protect them, and we'll do our best. That's what we never think about hurting anybody. We think about helping people, because that's why we're there. Probably the best person is going to be your wife, your spouse, or your significant other, because they're going to see the problems you have. They're going to feel the same pain you feel. They're there for you to talk to, listen to, and do whatever they can. They are the people that are going to be understanding. They're going to see that you have a clean uniform, a clean bed to sleep in, your meals are ready, and they take care of the children. I got a #1 wife. #1. I can't beat that. There's no way possible that I could have done my job if it had not been for her. But there's so many people to thank. But as far as my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, I expect them to take care of themselves. If they ever need me, they gave me a brand new uniform, because my old uniform, I lost weight, and we went to a new uniform, so I got a brand new uniform. So anytime the chief needs, all you got to do is call me. I'll put it on. I'll be right there. They know I'm not. But the public, for the most part, has been very endearing. They've been very understanding, because we have tried our best to relate what the problem is, to try to resolve the problem without any court action. Been extremely lucky with the court and the prosecutors. They have been 100% on our side. In the 31 years in code enforcement, I've never lost a case in court, because they believe that code enforcement is that important. They wouldn't want to live next to a pig pen either. So we do the best we can. The fire department's always come to my aid. A couple of times, Boyle County Rescue has hauled me off to the hospital. But we all work together, whether we're carrying a fire hose or we're carrying a sidearm, but we all work together. And everybody that I've worked with at City Hall, whether it's engineering, which has been absolutely wonderful, planning and zoning, sewer department, water department, street department, these are people that we cannot do without in code enforcement. They are the ones that support us, and we need their support, and we enjoyed it. And I want to thank you all very much. All I can say is what Jerry Garcia with the Grateful Dead said in an interview one time. Man, it's been a great ride. And this has been a great ride. God bless Danville and God bless the Commonwealth, and thank you so much. I'm here anytime you need me. Thank you.
Mr. Broach, we think you should come back and be the ex officio city therapist, city marriage counselor, and city chief information officer, because I've learned more out of what you said. Thank you for the history lesson.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Commissioners. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you back roaming the halls.
Well, I'll bring a little gumbo.
There you go. There you go. Enjoy the cake and punch. Item 2 is the banner request for Earth Day 2019. Mr. Biles, if you'll just hold up the same banner you've been using forever and ever. That's the new poster, same banner. I see no reason to do anything but approve it. Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval of the banner request.
Second.
Thank you, sir. And then thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Have a good evening. Enjoy the cake and punch. Item 3 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion? That would be the meetings from March the 11th.
2018, and I make a motion to approve those.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Next item, City Manager Report. Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. On your desk is a printout regarding the ethics boards and ethics board and the number of vacancies that currently exist on that board. I wanted to bring that to your attention and to recommend that you begin thinking about either reappointment of those that whose terms have expired or perhaps some new members. You have one vacant position and other terms that have expired, and I think it's time that we begin to discuss the process of filling those vacancies. And as you will well recall, this process is a little bit different than that of our other committees, so I guess in the past, each commissioner's come up with one or two recommendations, and the body as a whole has debated among those and selected the final appointment. So if you could be ready at our next regular meeting, that might be the time to begin that process.
You want to just have the commissioners call me so we can at least have some coordination and we don't come in here with 14 names?
Well, they can
Or you
call
want
you,
to
but I
come to
think
you?
the process is still that the commissioners themselves,
Yeah.
in a public meeting, advance those, but you could have that conversation.
Totally agree. I'm just trying to coordinate the process.
Right.
Or they can call you
whichever they
however
wish
you
to
want.
do.
You all have a preference? You have a preference?
No,
Give me a jingle, we'll work it out, and then we can all discuss it next meeting.
The other thing that I would mention, Mr. Mayor, in looking at our adopted calendar for April, which is coming up, and of course, it's a busy month, we have our first week, of course, is not an official calendar for the city of Danville, but that is spring break, where a lot of folks in our community are absent. Our regular city commission meeting is April the 8th, and then we did schedule April the 10th as the beginning of Volunteer Appreciation Month, a city volunteer luncheon, and I'll just remind everyone of that. And I mention these because, well, and later in the month, of course, we have our second meeting, then April 25th, we have the presentation of the preliminary budget to the city commission. But I mentioned—
What time is that?
Well, it's usually, and it's subject to your decision, but usually the same time at 5:30 on that Thursday evening or afternoon. But I mention it because we've had discussions about Parks and Recreation, and we've had some interchange with the county elected officials on that, and seemingly there is still the desire, I think, on both bodies to have perhaps another joint meeting. And so if that is, in fact, your sense and that of the city commissioners, given our calendar, our need to get on with our budget development process, and just to try to clarify financial support from the city and the county on Parks and Recreation, it would seem that perhaps April the 10th or 11th might be a good date for a joint meeting with the county, if you think that in fact is a good idea to have another conversation with them about Parks and Recreation issues.
So on April the 10th, we've got the volunteer luncheon, correct?
We do at noon, but that evening would be an opportunity, and as well as the following day before Good Friday, that Friday.
I prefer the 10th.
So do I.
Let's do the 10th.
Well, accordingly, then, I will suggest that, if I may, to the county judge, and see if they will also agree to meet they'd like to meet a little bit earlier because they're not used to, as often as we are perhaps, having evening meetings. So I suspect they would like to have a meeting as we did last time, probably mid-afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock. Would that be an agreeable time?
Can we make it?
4?
Or towards 4, yeah.
Well, we do
I
have
still have a school child.
school children and working jobs, so yes, if 4 o'clock is a good time, and we'll attempt to do it as we did last time at the RECC building, subject to the availability at that time.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So we're going to do that tentatively for 4 o'clock on the 10th.
Yes, ma'am. We're working, of course, on a number of other matters, including the beginning of the budget development work, but I have nothing specifically to report at this time, and that concludes my report tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Scott? Seeing none, we'll move right on into the Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the podium about any item that is not on tonight's agenda.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kirshner with the CVB. I guess I could have gone at the earlier one because this is in relation to an agenda item. But I just wanted to mention Earl will present a bid for the Henson Park Trail. And I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. You've probably been hearing us all talk about this trail for the better part of 7 years. So, I've learned a lot of patience over the time, but I wanted to thank you all for the lending of your staff, who we couldn't have done any of this without, and just also believing in a vision that hasn't been able to turn a whole lot of dirt yet. But this summer, we're going to see a variety of construction projects. We'll see McClure Trailhead, Phase 1 of 2168 Trail, the Henson Trail, the Lebanon Road Trail, and the Mountain Bike Park. And none of that would be possible without the cooperation of our local governments. I would also just mention it's always been the goal of the Danville-Boyle County Trails Alliance to provide collaboration and connectivity, both physically and through operations. So we very much set out to design a trail system that connects parks, connects neighborhoods, connects attractions. So that's just my little extra vote to keep on plugging and bring this all together with Parks and Rec, because I think we're all stronger together. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Moving right along into commissioner comments, if there are any. Madam, be first.
I don't think so. We can talk bad about JH if you want to.
Sure, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything tonight.
Rick?
Sure. Be glad to do that. We're always proud of our youth, and last meeting, we were able to honor some of those folks with the Woodlawn Elementary, and possibly in the future, and I may be a little ahead of our staff here, but since it was printed in the paper, I do want to recognize that we had a couple of young ladies from Bate Middle School that were state champions. And I'm not going to get their names right, Kira Pasteri and Ramona Pierce, but I see a shake head, we maybe see them. Great, great. But I want to go ahead and mention anyway. And then also Danville High School's forensic team. Probably got them on your radar too, but that's okay. You got a little preview of what's to come. We're proud of these kids, just like, and certainly these are great things because it's easy for us to rally around our football teams and et cetera. And sometimes these folks with the brains, I'm not saying the football players don't have brains, but I was one who was accused of that. It's good to recognize them too, and we're glad to do that.
Thank you, sir. Nothing else? We'll move right on into item 5, the payment of the bills. Do I hear a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented?
I move for approval of the bills noted on the bill list in the amount of $102,202.40.
Thanks, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Commissioner Terry. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 6 is resolution number 2019-03-25-01. This is in reference to the previously mentioned Henson Trail bid award. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The city received 2 bids, one from Mass Excavating, $143,687.50. The second bidder was the Allen Company. It turned $21,773.45. This project will be funded partly through a grant, an existing grant, $56,683.72 left. The balance will be from the general fund if you all will award the project. It's about 4,500 feet of trail from Stanford Avenue near McClure Village over to the East Main Pond. And it's provides connectivity from the existing trail. You can see the orange barrels there along Stanford Road that's been there for a while. And we will, Jennifer mentioned the McClure trailhead. That's where that will be constructed there near that intersection to be a point to go either direction.
If you don't mind, before I make a motion on this or one of the other commissioners, there might be an amendment here. If you can clarify, maybe you were going to mention this as well. You're suggesting that we accept the bid from $143,687.50, which is the low bid. Down in the bottom, it seems as though we have the amount of what we're going to cover, and that doesn't word right for me. Maybe I just don't understand it because I'm an ex-football player, but maybe you can help me out with that.
The city has an existing grant that is the remaining balance after the design fees and costs of that grant amount is roughly $56,000.
I understand that part, but it looks like we're accepting, in other
you're
words,
saying on
the
the
bid for
resolution?
Henson Trail Extension Project be awarded to Mass Excavating an amount of $56,000. So maybe we just need to change that?
Thank you for catching that. Yeah, I
Okay.
was looking at the memo, not the resolution. That's correct. Yeah, thank you for catching that.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 2019-03-2501 with the amendment that we are accepting a bid of $143,687.50 in both places on this document.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears and Commissioner Cottle. You're not such a dumb old football player after all, are you? Any further discussion?
I have a quick question. Earl, whenever I see a disparity in bids like that, you're sure that both folks understood the scope and they were bidding on the same thing? That's just where it landed.
In this case, yeah, I think so. The unit price of the low bid's consistent with what we had on Clark's Run. I think it was a different level of equipment for the Allen Company, which is why their price diverged.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a question also. There was some talk about a playground out near Henson Pond or the church or something. Is that still in the mix?
That's on our list to begin to work on, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We don't know what that will look like today, or necessarily what format that will take, or cost, or any of the details, but that is on our work list, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just don't want it to be forgotten about.
Yes, ma'am.
May want to mention too, Earl, to kind of back up Jennifer from the CVB, these projects took a while. And one of the reasons it took a while is we had to be AD compliant over on this particular trail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was design challenges that had to go through several iterations with the Transportation Cabinet, and I think ultimately they worked in support of us to achieve a solution that I think they could live with and accept, and I think that's what we're trying to build now.
And I'll also back her up on complimenting you because you took the time and worked with them to do that. And certainly it speaks well for our city that we're going to try to do things, we are going to do things correctly, no trying about it.
Any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 7 is Resolution 2019-03-25-02. This is in regard to a surplus item at the water plant. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Again, we'll try to be short. This is one of the items that was decommissioned when the plant was upgraded. There's quite a few items down at the shop. In conversations, the superintendent of the City of Jackson facilities and Mr. Tompkins at our plant, they became aware that Jackson had one of these units. Theirs was not operable, and they're trying to use this disposed of unit, what we are recommending to be declared surplus and disposed of. They're going to try to use this to get their system back in operations, which they can't buy parts for, and they do not have an impending project to replace that. So they're looking, if they can't get that operational, they're looking at a little bit bigger expense, and so they're trying to avoid that. And staff certainly suggests that this is a good use of a piece of equipment that's no longer operable.
Sounds good.
Do I hear a motion?
I move for approval of Resolution 2019-03-2502.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion?
Do we gift wrap, or do they have to? That's second.
You have to have a bow, and we'll do the bow on it. It's hard to wrap.
This is not the first time we've helped out another community. It's kind of a feel-good thing, and you know, when I first glanced at it, I thought, gosh, this thing's got to be worth more than what you said, until I dug in and found out it doesn't even work. So it's kind of trash to us.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call for the vote. And all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 8 is the first reading of ordinance number 1926. This is an amendment to joint zoning ordinance. Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir. In the absence of our city attorney, who has a family that is ill tonight, and that's why he's not here, let me give the first reading, or read the heading of this ordinance 1926. An ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky, repealing Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 18 of the, quote, zoning ordinance, Boyle County, the cities of Danville and Perryville, end quote, and replacing with revised Articles 1, 2, 3, and 6 pertaining to general provisions, review bodies, definitions, development review procedures, and nonconformities. You will recall that our Planning and Zoning Director, Steve Hunter, discussed this before the City Commission at our last meeting, and this is our first reading of those changes as recommended.
Do I hear a motion we accept the resolution? Excuse me.
I
I'm
move
sorry.
for acceptance of ordinance number 1926.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
I resolve to second it.
Thank you.
I second that.
You resolve to second. Well, I resolve to open the floor for discussion. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
Oh,
Thank you.
was that
that a
supposed to be
roll
roll call?
Oh,
That
sorry.
was supposed to be roll call.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Paros.
Yes,
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
thank you.
All right, I usually catch those, sorry.
You
That's
do,
your first roll call?
It is.
All right. Way to work.
Item 9 is the first reading of ordinance number 1927. This is the intent to annex US 150 in the Wilderness Road area. Mr. Scott, continue, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 1927, an ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky pursuant to KRS 81A.420, establishing its intent to annex the unincorporated territory lying adjacent to and contiguous with the present city boundaries located on along the South Danville Bypass, parenthesis, US Highway 150, end parenthesis, and Wilderness Road and the area between same, which property is owned by Evelyn S. Gander, Walter Gander, Jeffrey L. Kettles, Emma Jean Walker, Kimberly Anderson, Louis C. Brown, Eugenia Lynn Hopkins, Temple Baptist Church, Caldwell Stone Company, Inc., and Commonwealth of Kentucky, consisting in the whole of 180.879 acres, more or less, and being more accurately described below. This recommended ordinance stating our intent to annex this property is presented after we have had an extended period of conversation with the property owners in that area, virtually all of whom have requested to be annexed. It's important that we do annex in order to plan for the future growth of the city in this area, contiguous to the city, to provide clarity of public safety, and thus it is recommended for your adoption tonight. Under the statutes, we are required to give written notice to the property owners that are certified by our city clerk as residing within this described territory, and to also publish not only this intent to annex ordinance, but also to publish notice that should anyone in the affected area disagree with this, there is under the statutes a petition requirement that or opportunity that they could commence, and upon gathering of sufficient signatures, this could be placed upon a future ballot before the next regular election. There are some timing requirements in terms of giving that notice within 14 days prior to the passage of the second ordinance, and some other technicalities, but that's the gist of it. And again, virtually everyone in this area has really for an extended period of time requested to be annexed by written letter.
Do I hear a motion to accept the first reading of ordinance number 1927?
I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance 1927.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Discussion?
So all these property owners want to be annexed. There's any other reasons that you know of that, other than they want our services?
Well, we have communicated and had written requests from every property owner except one in the described area, and we could not get in touch with that owner despite numerous attempts to do so. So yes, they want to be part of the city. It is the southeastern approach to our city of Danville. It is an area that is probably prime for development in terms of that corridor coming into town. It would clarify public safety response for any accidents or other events that might occur at that time, and for the planned orderly growth of the community. It is recommended that we do annex that territory.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Comments? Madam Clerk?
Mayor Paros.
Yes.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
Commissioner Terry.
Yes.
That concludes our regular agenda. in record time, I might add.
That is pretty
However,
good.
I believe we have need for an executive session.
I would request or resolve that we have an executive session tonight that might be brief.
Do I hear a motion to that effect? Commissioner Cottle,
What is the reasoning for our,
personnel.
Pardon me. It's to discuss personnel matters.
all righty, I will make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to KRS 618101F.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are.
No, I'm going to do that for
We,
Mr.
for
Atkins.
Mr. Atkins and abstention, yes,
Just
I
because,
understand. We are in executive session. Everyone have a good evening. Help yourself to cake and punch. Move back into regular session.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
sir, and thank you, ma'am. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are in a regular session. Madam Clerk or Mr. Scott, who wants to make these?
We'll let our
What
human
about Madam
resources make
Human
that.
Resource?
Thank you.
Staff would ask that you promote Darren Horton to the position of maintenance worker in the cemetery with usual probationary measures.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Thank
We
you.
would also ask that you promote Lynn Thomas to a full-time position in public work as a maintenance worker with the usual probationary measures.
Thank you. Do I hear a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And lastly, we would ask that you hire Gregory Von Grunigan to the position of water plant trainee with the usual probationary measures.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Second?
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I don't believe we have any further business. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Second?
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Have a good evening, everyone.